Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at the big nor'easter that could be impacting parts of the interior northeast. Then we're also going to be looking at some lake effect snowfall that could be pretty significant. Some areas receiving 2+ feet of snowfall according to multiple models. And we're going to be going through that and then kind of breaking down why that's going to happen and what elements of the atmosphere that could actually enhance that. And then we're going to be looking at a big cool down that's going to kind of be persistent over the eastern, about I would say 2/3, maybe even 3/4 of the United States. Before we do get into it though, please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications. It really supports the channel. Now, here's the National Weather Service as of right now, and we have winter weather advisories over the UP of Michigan and then also parts of western Michigan. That's more for lake effect snow. And then you'll just have some snow showers and whatnot around Nebraska where you also have a winter weather advisory. Then you have your flash flood watches or flood watches, over parts of northern Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. And that's due to your system that's going to be that big nor'easter that could impact parts of the interior northeast with some snowfall. And a couple of days ago, it's kind of funny how we were thinking this would be potentially a big storm for the coastal northeast, but it's really tracked northward since then, and now it's more of a Great Lakes type of interior northeast storm. And then we also this is just starting to develop, and this will move out by about Thursday and Friday time. And these are just some severe thunderstorms on the on the south side of this system. And then air stagnation advisories in effect for parts of the northwest, where you're going to have some reducing air quality over the next couple of days. Now we're going to talk about your nor'easter from the European model. And here's your nationwide view. So you see, we do have some pop-up thunderstorms. Really not severe at this point. It's really it's November. You really don't see severe weather at this time. So probably just a couple of lightning. Not really too severe. Probably not any tornadoes. Almost definitely not tornadoes. Potentially some hail, but really it's just going to be some heavy to moderate to heavy rain and potentially some lightning mixed in there. And you see that's your batch of rain here. And then you have this clipper system that we talked about in the last video, and that's just going to be dumping a couple inches of snowfall. Some areas seeing a little bit more, maybe 5 inches from that system, and then it's going to move out. But these two systems are going to kind of merge together and bring this big nor'easter over parts of the interior northeast. Now, as you keep on going on Thursday morning, and you see that really heavy rainfall that I was talking about starts to build in there, and that's really why you have your flood watches over it. You see that heaviest band of rain is pretty much over the same exact area that those flood watches were located in, and that's most likely why we could have some flash flooding with the system. And then you see they kind of merge together. So this now is a system that's stretching all the way from Nova Scotia, Canada, southeast Canada, and then it's stretching all the way to the U.S.-Mexico border. So that's, I would say, about maybe 1,500 miles of one system, and they're all connected. And you see, we have some snow showers building in by Thursday night over the interior northeast, and then also you still have your rainfall from a from this would be from Thursday morning, so you still have heavy rainfall over that same area for about 12 hours. Now, as you continue Friday morning, you see it kind of strengthens the snow kind of strengthens into Thursday night, Friday morning time period, and then rain really starts to hit parts of New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and the coastal northeast by that point, and then it moves out. And one thing I want to point out, you definitely could have some wraparound snowfall over the coastal northeast, but this really won't accumulate. Potentially some ice pellets, some wet snowflakes, but it's really gonna only accumulate on the grass if it does accumulate at all. But really not gonna accumulate on roads or concrete at all, pretty much. And then this moves out, just some lingering snow showers, and then it fully moves out. Now here's your snowfall in from the European model, and we're gonna be going through about 10 different models. Not the full model run. We're just gonna be looking at their snowfall. Otherwise, we would be here for about an hour or two if we went through every single model run. But here's your area to worry about for snowfall. Pretty much in this area, and you see in those grays, that's about a tenth of an inch to 2 inches, 2 to 6 inches in those blues, and then some higher elevations and more interior areas seeing 6+ inches in those purples. Now, you see, we have a couple scattered 6+ inches, but generally about 2 to 5 inches of snowfall, and this could be lake enhanced at times. Some of this right here, really right along that lake shore, this is where it's lake enhanced. Beside that, this is mainly all from the system, and you see pretty good hefty snowfall totals anywhere from Maine to about West Virginia and the Appalachian Mountains. Now, here's your GFS model, and you see we're seeing generally about 2 inches widespread. The GFS is a bit more widespread, getting it a bit further south, but it's not as strong with this. The system is not as strong. The system doesn't look to be as strong according to the GFS model, and you see it's generally pushed a bit further south, but lower snowfall totals there. Now here's your European ensemble models, and you see the European ensemble models. This is comprised of about 20 or 30 members, and they all average out to this. So you see. We have some snowfall, some models picking up on some snowfall over Boston into Connecticut, Rhode Island, and the southern Hudson Valley. But really, pretty much the same areas, and you see the heaviest snowfall over Maine, northern Vermont, and northern New Hampshire, and then also for upstate New York, where you could also have some lake effect snowfall, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Your RGEM model, same thing. I think the RGEM model has a good grasp on where it is, but I don't think it's as strong as what I'm forecasting. And my forecast was actually in the last video, so just go on my channel and check that out if you haven't already. If you want to see what I'm forecasting as far as snowfall. Now here's the icon model, and this we switched to a different website now. So there's a different key. So about a tenth of an inch to about 3 inches is in your blues, 4 to 6 in those purples, and then 6 to 12 in those pinks. So see, no areas receiving more than about 3 inches of snowfall, and I really think that at least a couple areas are going to see more than 3 inches. But how much of that accumulates, we'll have to see. The NAM model bringing it further south and also pretty strong. So if the NAM toned this down a little bit, I don't really think it's gonna be this far south. I would say maybe something like this. But I agree with the snowfall totals generally. Generally a widespread 2 to 3 inches. And then the HRDPS, a higher resolution model, showing pretty much the same thing. And yeah, that's forecast. That's all the forecasting models pretty much summarized. Now, here's my map from yesterday. Here's my surface map. Just to recap, I think it's going to be mostly rain, if not all rain. Here, I just put mostly rain because some of these Appalachian mountains could definitely see some snowfall. But if you're not in higher elevations, or if you're below basically this red line, which is the track of the storm, you're probably not going to get rain or snow or ice. Now, a mix, and this just means that you could convert over to snowfall in this area, and especially on the backside, even though the European doesn't show up for a couple hours overnight, you could get some wraparound snowfall over that area in the mix, and then mainly snow here for the interior Northeast and the Great Lakes. So that's my surface map. That's basically showing what I think of as far as the storm track. Now here's your lake effect snowfall, and you see our lakes are pretty warm at this time of year, so it is allowing a lot of moisture to actually be built up, and that's allowing a lot of lake effect snow to actually travel from those lakes and then onto land where it dumps snowfall. And we're gonna kind of be breaking down why this happens. Now this would be for Sunday morning, and you see lake effect for the UP of Michigan, and now getting into the lower peninsula of Michigan. Now Monday morning you get some lake effect snow. Now don't mind these systems that pass through. These only enhance the lake effect, but you can see lake effect snow all the way up lake, not lake, Lake Michigan and up in Michigan and the UP of Michigan, all lake effect because you're having these west northwest winds that are blowing that snow onto the land, and then you see that lake effect snow continues, and even this is also lake enhanced over here for Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. All these areas are seeing lake enhanced snowfall, so that's leading to some higher snow totals over those areas. Now Tuesday morning, still some snowfall. You don't even have a system anymore over those areas, and you're still seeing some snowfall, and it just shows how persistent that snowfall could be. Also, one thing I want to point out, you could have a major storm. Well, I don't want to call it major yet. You could have some sort of snowstorm over the coastal northeast, and that's what this is right here. It's just off the map, but you see, we could be seeing around 6+ inches according to some models over those areas, and I'm not gonna call that yet, because it's just too far out to say anything about that. It would be very irresponsible to be talking about that about, I don't know, 5-6 days out. So I'm not gonna talk about it just yet, but I just wanted to make sure you guys to tell you guys that I do know about it, in case you guys are wondering, and I am gonna upload a video on it, most likely in the near future once we get closer to the event. Now this lake effect snow continues and then kind of tapers off as you get into Wednesday morning, and then another clipper system moves in. But here's your snowfall over the next 10 days. And you see, we have a big area of about a foot. Now, most of this, it has to be really closer to the lake, where this is going to be really just from lake effect. So really, these areas are going to be the most lake effect enhanced. And you see some readings about 2 feet of snowfall, and then also for the eastern part of Michigan, you could be seeing up to a foot of snowfall. Then also the northern part of the UP of Michigan, also seeing some pretty good snowfall. So definitely something that we have to watch, and I most likely in the winter won't be going in depth on these, but I just felt it necessary because it is fairly early in the season and it is pretty drastic. Even in the winter, if it is above about 1.5 to 2 feet of snowfall from this lake effect, I most likely will talk about it, at least mention it. Now, here's your air temperatures. This is just one particular period, and this is right around the afternoon time. So this would really be well, your afternoon time. This would really be when your high temperatures would be, and you see your high temperatures in the 20s, and this would be for about Tuesday. This would be for Tuesday next week, and it just shows how cold it is, and it's allowing this this moisture from the lakes to come out and onto Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, New York, upstate New York, and that's why you're seeing all this lake effect snow. Now here's your wind gusts, and this is really important. You're gonna have these winds blowing out of the west northwest direction, and it's gonna be and you have some pretty high winds, about 20 to 30 knots, which would be about 40 miles per hour gusts. So you're seeing this wind being this moisture being blown onto the surface, and that's leading to this lake effect. Now here's your humidity at the surface, and you're seeing we have some pretty good humidity over Michigan, and then also near the lakes over upstate New York and Pennsylvania and Ohio. And dew points or humidity, I mean, right around 50 to 80, which is definitely good enough to have some lake effect snowfall. And that's pretty much why you're going to be seeing lake effect snow. Now, temperatures are going to be drastically cooling over pretty much the eastern 3/4 of the country. Now, here's your European model, and you see, we're gonna continue to have these cold dips, these cold areas of these areas of colder air come in from about that west central part of Canada, and they're gonna be dumping some pretty cold air, and along with it, you're gonna have some clipper systems that bring pretty much snow for much of the central portion of the United States, and we'll talk about those in another video, potentially tomorrow or on Friday. Now, as you can see, this continues to move out. Some temperature readings 20 degrees below average, and that's right along with this system. And this system could be bringing a little bit of snowfall for these areas, and it's going to continue to move out and to the east. Now, we'll continue to move on. See, temperatures 20 degrees below average, reaching the U.S.-Mexico border, and then they continue to kind of strengthen. That cold air continues to strengthen and move eastward. Now the East Coast is getting on this 10 degrees below average for the East Coast. Central portion seeing about 20 to 30 degrees below average, and then it reaches the Gulf Coast and it continues to strengthen. 20 degrees below average widespread. A lot of areas 15 degrees below average, especially closer to the coast. And then 20 degrees continuing further south. Weakens a little bit as it's kind of getting pushed out by this next batch of cold air. So this cold air is really, if you looked at the upper air, you're gonna see how it's just one big batch. That's kind of one big batch of cooler air that's gonna be continuing to circulate right around the same area. So this eastern, at least half of the country, isn't really gonna get a break of this from this unless you have a system that moves through and it has a warm front along with it. But then again, on the backside, you're gonna see well below average temperatures. So really a relentless pattern. Now 20 degrees below average, and this is your colder shot of air, and some areas could get into the negatives widespread over Montana and the Dakotas from this. So this would be for Monday morning. 45 degrees below average, some areas seeing 50 degrees below average in Montana, and it continues to strengthen. 30 degrees below average, many areas 25 degrees below average by Monday night. Tuesday morning, those 20-degree below average are reaching the Gulf Coast, and you see 30 degrees below average all the way from Texas to about Wisconsin. Very, very interesting how strong this is. Wednesday morning continues and it moves eastward, 20 degrees below average, all the way from Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, down through DC, and then all along the I-95 corridor, and then it moves further and further east by Thursday. You could have temperatures in the 20s and teens along the East Coast, and then it continues Thursday afternoon into Friday morning, Friday afternoon, Saturday morning, and then it continues on and on. But that's the end of that model run. Now, finally, at the end of this is the end of the video, but I just want to point out that the Climate Prediction Center is also showing this. So NOAA is also showing this. I'm not just making this up. And you see, these are your chances for above or below average. And in those lighter blues, that's about 33 to 60% below average, 60 to 80% in those like moderate shades, and then 80 to 90% in those darkest shades. And you might not be able to see it, but you do have a 90 to 100% chance of below average over the central part of the country. And then much of the eastern half of the United States is under about an 80 to 90% chance of below average. This is not the significance, but of course, with the if you are going to be more confident if it is a more significant event. So this is while it's only percent chances, it is indicating a pretty significant event. And then fairly warm anywhere from about California to Alaska, where you could be about 33 to 70% above average in temperatures. And then here's your 8 to 14 day outlook, and you see they're less certain on this, but still fairly certain for 8 days out, about a week out. You're still 70% below average, chances of below average over the central and eastern part of the country. Now, that is going to wrap up the video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications. It really supports the channel. And anyways, that was Eli the Weather Guy, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.